school. And it was one of the best experiences of my life. It was a very long 11 days. I felt like I was gone for a month. And part of the experience is to not have any technology, with like technology of our own. Obviously they have like TVs there and stuff, but you know, we couldn't bring our phones, iPods, laptops, you know, you get it. So not having an opportunity to talk to people back home, it just really felt like we were so far away. I mean, we were far away, but it just felt so separate from our normal lives. But I think not having a phone really added to the experience in a really good way, which was surprising. I actually didn't think about my phone at all the whole time I was away. I didn't want it. If anything, we felt, my team and I, we had like anxiety about turning our phone back on because we knew the notifications were just gonna flood in within 2 minutes of turning my phone on. When I got home, I had like 50 Facebook notifications, 80 something emails, the text messages started coming in, like it was just a lot. So it was really nice to not have to stress about all that stuff. And yeah, so I just kind of wanted to go through day by day with you and tell you what we did. We did so much, but we still had a lot of downtime, and our days felt really, really long. And okay, so I'm going to start from the beginning. So this organization that belongs to my school takes a group of 10 to 12 people, usually like 10 students, a chaperone, and a leader. The leader is a student, like my leader was my age. And they send you, well, they don't send you, we have to, you know, pay our own way, but we go to the place that we applied for. In my case, Alaska was my number one choice, and you interview for it, and if you get on the team, you spend 10 to 12 days wherever you go, and it's like half cultural immersion, half service project. But ours was like a really like cultural immersion. That was the main point of our team's trip, to learn about the way of life there and the people and the culture, and just immerse ourselves in it. So we went to a village, kind of a village, it's one of the bigger villages along the Kuskokwim River. If you know where that is, it's like southwest Alaska, like really, really far west. Everyone back home was like joking that I was going to Russia, because I was pretty close to Russia. Where we went, I'm not going to get too descriptive as far as names of people and names of places, just because I'm not the only one involved here, and we had a big host community, and you know, I have to take that into consideration, so I hope you're okay with that. But that's the general area, and it is a place where the villages are not like where I'm from. You know, they're very rural villages. These people, the native people where I went, it was 60% native, 40% white, and everything else. So the majority of the land was still mostly Yupik culture. And these people, for the most part, live off the land, which is amazing. I didn't know places like that still existed. They hunt for their food. It's Alaska, so obviously they fish for their food. Some plant vegetables and fruits. And the main reason for that, well, there's two. One is because that's their culture. They're one with the land. Their relationship with the land is very spiritual. They feel so connected to the land. For example, they believe that if you hunt an animal and you're going to use that animal to feed your family, clothe your family, whatever it may be, they believe that that animal is willingly giving itself to you. And they will do certain rituals. I forgot what animal it is, but after they kill it, they will pour water into its mouth as a sign of respect. So they don't do it for recreational purposes. They truly respect the land and the animals, which I think is one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. So because we did so much, I journaled for like the first time ever. We all did pretty much, and every day before bed we would sit and we would write. So I wrote in this little journal here. I've never really journaled before, and I really, really liked it. And on the way home, I reread my whole journal and just relived the whole trip. And now I can do that whenever I want. So I'm gonna read this through with you day by day. And obviously I'll make like my own comments and stuff. And I'll tell you stories. And I will show you pictures. I will insert pictures as I tell you stories. And I hope you can kind of relive this experience with me. I'm excited to relive it right now. I'm really excited to read this with you. I'm gonna change a few words around just for, names and whatever. But it's gonna be the same thing. I'm not like changing the truth. I'm just changing some names and stuff. Or leaving some things out. Okay. So, I'm just gonna read. This whole thing isn't full. It's like up to... Okay, it's more full than I thought. It's this thick. Okay, so I'm going to start with day one. I got really descriptive. I even wrote the time that I wrote every entry. So this one was day one at 10:27 p.m. Okay, so I said, more than anything, I want to be asleep right now. Seeing as this is the 22nd hour that I've been awake. So we took 3 flights from home, and it was about a 14 or 15 hour long travel day. So we were exhausted. The traveling wasn't as bad as I expected it to be though, and towards the end it was kind of fun. Our last plane from Anchorage to the village was a small plane. It was like half cargo, half passenger, and one of the flight attendants, I swear, I think she thought we were like a high school team, but she gave us Alaskan Airlines like pins, and she gave us coloring books, but it was fun. And then eventually she like realized we were older, but then she just kept going with it, and it was funny. The village is a lot different than home, but also pretty much what I expected it to be. I love the cultural environment and the fact that everyone seems to know everyone. The plan for tomorrow is unknown, which is what is making me the most nervous, but I'm trusting we'll love every new experience that comes our way. So we landed in the village at 8:30 p.m. their time. So home, that was 12:30. So like midnight, 12:30. So it's a 4-hour difference. So that's why we were so tired. We left our school at 5:45 in the morning, hosts picked us up from the airport in like 3 pickup trucks. Everyone like drives a pickup truck over there. They picked us up in all their pickup trucks and threw our luggage in the bed of the truck and drove us, to where we would be staying. We were staying in a church. And it was the smallest airport I've ever seen. They only have 3 flights going out at a time. So it was very, very small, but it was very cute. So, let's continue. This might be a long video. Okay. Day 2, 9:58 p.m. Today we had a slow start, and I could tell a lot of us were starting to get annoyed that it was the first full day and we weren't getting a lot done. Yeah, it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon and we hadn't left the church where we were staying, and we were like, okay, we're here. Can we like go do something? But then we found out that it was just because we had some car trouble. So they lent us 2 trucks to use while we were there, which was so nice of them. Their priests were out of town, so they lent us 2 of their trucks. One was a pickup truck, and one was a Chevy Blazer, which was the oldest car I have ever been in. That thing was dangerous. That thing barely worked. Like, the driver's door, you couldn't even open it unless you were in the inside. It was a little bit of a death trap, but we were so thankful that they gave us those trucks. We were not expecting that, especially because gas is over $5 a gallon. So we were really appreciative, and it made our trip so much easier. Okay, so our first trip of the day was to a prematernal house where women can go to stay 30 days before their delivery due date, or if they have medical needs and they can't get home to, their village, if it's another village, they can go there and get the treatment they need. I loved their motto that no pregnant woman would ever be turned away. Whether it was financial issues or whatever it would be, they would always find a way to take in whoever needed treatment, which I thought was great. The tour of the home was a lot quicker than expected, but it was a small building, so it couldn't have been that long. But we were still thankful that we made that visit. We then traveled back home, and we walked across the street to the market. We were absolutely blown away by the prices of groceries, and were wondering how the people of this village survive so well. And that's why they have to live off the land, because they literally cannot afford to go grocery shopping like we do. I think a jug of orange juice, I saw one for $19. A big box of diapers was like $65 or $70. Like, it was insane. But it's because they have to have everything shipped to them. So those shipping prices are crazy. Afterwards, a few of us got to shower, and I put yay in parentheses because we couldn't shower every day. But it was only every other day, so honestly I expected it to be a lot worse because we had a limited water supply. And soon it was time to prepare for my favorite part of the day. A few members of the community hosted a potluck dinner for us, and to help prepare, we learned how to gut smelt fish. That day was the day the smelt had come through the river, and so they caught, I think, like 20,000 smelt, which are like little silverfish. It was not my favorite taste, but it was definitely fun. At the dinner, we tried king salmon spread sandwiches, which were my favorite, caribou stew, and the smelt fish, of course. The people here are so beautiful, both inside and out, and make us feel like they're genuinely happy we're here. So far, they've really made us feel like a part of the community, and it's only the second day. We made friends with 3 little girls at the dinner, one of which was named Jacqueline. And we created a game with her and the other little girls where we would, one at a time, cover our eyes, and someone would like tap you or poke you, and you had to guess who in the group it was. These girls were little, so, but they loved it, and they got along with us so well. They loved it, and we loved them, and they taught us how to say goodbye in Yupik, which is Buga. So when they left, we were able to say Buga. It was really cute. We're really thankful for the hospitality of our host and her friends and family so far, and we can't wait for the busy day coming tomorrow. So the second day was really like a chill day, but it was so nice. The dinner was one of my favorite parts of the entire trip. Day 3, 11:15 a.m. Got started a little earlier. Okay, I'm writing earlier today because we got an earlier start, and I want to make sure I don't forget anything. This morning we were lucky enough to visit the local radio and TV station, which is one of the 4 main TV stations in Alaska. Before our appointment even started, we were each allowed to go into a recording room and record a few seconds of our voices that would be aired on the radio. So that was really, unexpected. So I said something like, "This is Samantha from blah 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 blah, and you're listening to blah 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 blah," and they aired it on the radio, and that was so cool. And a few of you may know I'm studying film and television production, so seeing the television setup and everything was I was geeking out a little bit. I thought it was really impressive, especially in a town like that, which is so underdeveloped. To have that there was really impressive, I thought. We were not expecting to be aired on their station, but it was so much fun. Outside of the booth, there was a man who worked there who had beaver cooking in a crock pot and a swan egg boiling for lunch. It was the most casual thing in the world. At 9, we met with the boss of the station, who is originally from the lower 48, which is what they call us, but moved here 15 years ago. He told us everything from his story to the station's history to the topics they discuss and the fact that their station is pretty much the only form of media that the village has. Eventually, the man who was cooking before came in to talk to us. He's a Yupik translator, a reporter, and a storyteller. We're back in the church now, waiting to eat lunch, and I can see the sun finally starting to poke out through the window. We're excited for the next 2 activities we have planned today. Okay. This is the same day, but at 11:35 p.m. In the afternoon, we visited the local cultural center and museum, where we got a tour. The woman who gave us the tour only planned on talking for 20 minutes, but ended up speaking for over an hour. The tour of old jewelry, clothes, and tools were great, but the best part was when she opened up to us about the problems that she's faced with alcohol and how she's been sober now for about 8 years. She runs a home with a few other people in the village, 4 people who suffer from alcohol abuse, and she got very emotional, and we were all so touched by how open and genuine she was with complete strangers. She made us realize that there are a lot of hardships that come with the way of life here, but the people tend to focus more on the positive than the negative. Next, we rushed to a coalition center, a women's coalition center, which offers space to women and children who suffer from any type of abuse, whether it happens constantly or whether it happens just once. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a tour or speak to any of the women there, but I guess it makes sense as to why. But the reason I wrote that is because when we were training for this trip for the past 2 months, we were under the impression that we would be actually speaking to these women. So to get there and to just sit in a seminar room and like watch a PowerPoint presentation. We were just like, oh. But I mean, it makes sense when you think about it. It was cool though to interact with a small group of teenagers who spend a lot of time there. We just sat with them and they asked us questions about living down in the lower 48, and we asked them questions about what it's like to go to high school there, and so it was kind of like that, very informal. We got done early today and had a load of time to kill before bed. I have found that while here, I don't like having too much free time, but we made it work. We played games, we played Uno like every day. We went for a walk to the river, which was nice, but it was freezing. Made dinner and watched The Wedding Crashers. Even though we'd rather be out doing activities, it is fun to see our team grow closer as a family. So yeah, a lot of downtime that day too. But like I said, we made the most of it. We had to cook and some people had to shower, so it worked out. Okay, so day 4. Okay. Today was another this is 11:05 p.m. by the way, in case you were wondering. Today was another easy day with 2 small activities early on in the day. At 11, we went to the fish and game office where we met with 2 employees who taught us about the 5 species of salmon, the traditions of fishing, and the patterns people here have to follow. So they were just basically like, we did a salmon quiz to see how much we knew about salmon. We didn't know anything. And they were telling us that there are regulations that have been put in place now, so the people can't fish whenever they want. They have open fishing days, and then you have to basically catch enough to sustain your family until the next open day. Right after, we went to the Department of Fish and Wildlife. We got a presentation on how to conserve areas in Alaska to preserve the wildlife and the land for the people. For things like hunting, photography, bird watching, observation, things like that. These 2 presentations really emphasized today how much the people here rely on the environment to survive, and it made us realize that we often take the environment and its resources for granted. I think this is something that will always be in my mind even after we leave. While all this information was interesting, I'm starting to get tired of the conference rooms and PowerPoint presentations. I'm ready to actually be out in the community as much as possible. Tomorrow we're traveling up the river to set up a summer camp for them, and I really hope the weather won't be terrible and we won't be miserable. That's some foreshadowing for you. We'll get there. On the other hand, my team continues to grow closer and closer, and it's exciting. We had the rest of the day free after 2 p.m., so we had like 10 hours to keep ourselves busy. So we drove around and found gift shops, bookstores, and we played so many games. Our room today was full of laughter and yelling, the good kind, and I can't wait to spend the day with them tomorrow. Now I'm looking forward to getting in my bed, reading a bit of my book, and falling asleep hopefully before 12. So descriptive. Okay. Get ready for a story. Today is a day I will probably remember for a very long time. We were supposed to travel upriver to set up their summer camp, but we didn't get that far because of the weather. Okay, I'm not even going to read from the book. I'm just going to tell you the story and put my book down. So, we were supposed to travel to this summer camp, right? It was about 20 miles upriver. But the first half of the trip, like the first half of the week, was so cold. It was raining all the time. But they were like, the weather should be okay, we'll be fine. Our host was like, you're gonna go with 2 local men, like we didn't know them, but they were gonna take us on their boats, which was really nice. Our host was under the impression that their boats had covers, so we would kind of be shielded from the cold air and most of the rain. their boats did not have covers. So we get to the dock. It's freezing. I have like leggings and jeans on, 3 sweaters, a rain jacket, and rain boots, and a hat, like a baseball cap and gloves. And I was still freezing. We had to wait a half an hour on the dock because they forgot our life jackets, or they didn't have enough or something, so they had to leave and go get more. So while we were waiting on the dock, it started raining, and then it started snowing, and so we were freezing, especially because by the water you get, heavier wind. So we were freezing before we even got on the boat. Then the men come back. They have their 2 boats, so we split 6 and 6 because there was 12 of us. So on our boat, there was the driver, 2 people in the back, and then a bench where 4 of us sat. I was on the end, 2 people, and then another girl on the end. So because the weather was so bad, and it was really windy, the water was really choppy. So the boat, as we were going, and those boats go fast, was going like this. It was like hitting the water really, really hard, and I was towards the front of the boat, the part that goes up. So me and the girl on the end literally almost fell out of the boat. The other girl is a lot lighter than I am, so I'm sure I think her experience was a lot scarier than mine, because she had nothing to hold on to. So she almost fell out. She was terrified. I was on the other end, and I was yelling, "I'm gonna fall out, I'm sliding. And it was loud, so no one could hear me, so he didn't stop. So we had a tarp over our heads to shield us from the rain. So I had the tarp and my camera bag in one hand in my lap, and I had to use this hand to find something to hold on to. I think I held on to like the driver's podium because he was right in front of me, and I was holding on for dear life, and my finger was swollen because the like plastic was like digging into my finger, and it got to the point where I was so tired of holding on that I was like, this is it, I gotta let go, like I'm gonna go in, this is it. It was like there was a good period of time where I really thought I was going in the water, me and the girl on the other end. So thank God eventually he stopped, and he was like, yeah, the weather's too bad, we can't go over there. And I was like, good, great, okay. So we turned around, and then on the way back, the bench we were sitting on, I don't think it was properly attached to the boat, so it was moving. So at one point I was pinned in between the driver's podium and the bench. I could not move my feet. My feet were completely like stuck in between the bench and the podium, and every time we like hit, we would bounce, and I would like land on my heels, so my feet were in pain. And then the bench we were sitting on broke. It collapsed, so we had to stop the boat again, get up and go sit on the front of the boat, which was even more cold because we didn't have the tarp anymore. So we got back to the dock, and there was like a native guy there, and he was like, you guys need to go inside, like you shouldn't have gone out in the first place, you're gonna get sick, you need to go inside. He was like calling our host, and he was like, you need to check on those kids of yours. So yeah, so then we went back. I'm glad I did it because it was an experience, and it's a story to tell, and I'll never do it again, not in that weather. So but it's like when an Alaskan tells you to not go on the water, like that's how you know it's legit. So okay, where was I? Then we came back, drank hot chocolate, and sat by the heaters in pain until we were warm. In the afternoon, we explored multiple places, took a bunch of great pictures, and finally got out on the tundra, which is like wide open space over there. That's like the only way I can think to describe it to you. For dinner, we went over to a Jesuit volunteer's house for hamburgers and hot dogs, and hung out with some of the kids that we had met the day before, or 2 days before. At night, we played 3 rounds of Werewolf, where, if you haven't heard of Werewolf, it's like the game Mafia, if you've ever played Mafia. And we played that with our chaperone, and we were really, we felt really accomplished that we got him to play, because he's like older, he's like in his 60s, so normally he just like wants to go to bed. But he played 3 rounds with us, and then we went to bed. I must have been really tired that night because my ending was kind of short. Okay. Day 6, 11:07 p.m. Today was another busy day, but also kind of a laid-back day. You sensing a theme here? After breakfast, we went to an annual garage sale at a fire department, which was cute, but there wasn't much to do. We also bumped into the same girl, Jacqueline, from the potluck, and ended up playing the same made-up game we played that day. Then, I was mistakenly given an oatmeal raisin cookie, and I found out the hard way that they had walnuts in them. I'm allergic to walnuts, and a few other nuts. The reaction wasn't too terrible because I noticed it right away, so I stopped eating it. But it's just like a really horrible feeling, my reaction that I get. Like I was really nauseous, and my throat, my mouth was really itchy. It was really bad. Another girl on my team had a reaction too, because she's also allergic to nuts. So we all headed back to the house for lunch, and then eventually we felt better. And then once we felt better, it was time to go to the cemetery to clean it up in time for Memorial Day. That was like our service project, the biggest one. We cut down and gathered weeds for about 3 hours, and my arms were already sore. But it honestly wasn't as bad as I was expecting. And my partner and I, on my team that worked with me, we worked really well together. To thank us for our hard work, the VFW fed us pizza after our showers, which was really nice of them. Then, on a whim, we decided to go to the cultural center for karaoke. 6 of the people on my team sang, and it was so much fun. We had so much fun. Eventually, we were all exhausted though, so we eventually came back for our reflection, because we do like a team reflection every night. And we just finished watching The Ghost of Girlfriends Past, which I really enjoyed. I'm getting to the point now where I'm excited for the next couple of days, but I'm also constantly thinking about going home. But I'm trying my best to make the most out of the time we have left. Only 4 more full days here. So yeah, we kind of got into a little bit of a period of time where we're all just like, I'm ready to go home, you know? Okay. Oh, this is funny. Okay, day 7, 8:56 a.m. The day hasn't started yet, but I just wanted to document what happened last night so I don't forget. Around midnight last night, someone opened the front door, and I knew it wasn't one of the guys because they were being really loud. So I turned around, and I'm not even gonna read this. I thought it was one of the boys because they slept separately from us. So whenever they had to use the bathroom, they had to come in, unlock the door, and then lock it on the way out and go back to their little trailer thing outside. So I heard the door open around like midnight, and I was pretty much the only one awake, I think. I hear the door open, and the person's being a lot louder than normal, and I was like, no, the boys wouldn't have been that loud because they knew we were sleeping. So I rolled over, and I looked towards the door, and I see a figure, like a person walking in the room. And it doesn't get dark in Alaska, so it was still kind of bright outside, and I could kind of see. And he was walking closer, and I was like, we don't know him. It was just a random man. And I'm staring at him, and he's like walking in, like all of our beds are here, and he's walking in, and I was like, oh my god, what is he gonna do? I don't know. That was scary. And he walks in, and he just lays down in between 2 of the girls' beds on the floor, on his stomach. We were sleeping on like mattresses, thin mattresses on the floor, so we were all on the floor. And he lays down right across from me, just lays down. A couple of the girls noticed when they woke up that he like reeked of alcohol. So he was a local homeless drunk, and sometimes the church lets the homeless people come in and sleep if it's empty. So he was really drunk, and he found the door unlocked, so obviously he's gonna come in and lay down. But it was still really scary, and so I was trying to like tell my leader, we don't know him, we need to get him out. And she like wasn't registering it because she was sleeping, she was out, so she was still really groggy. It's like, we don't know him. And eventually she got it, and she was like, oh my god, we have to get him out. Like she panicked, she was shook a little bit. 2 minutes later, he stood up and just walked out. Like, that was it. The whole thing lasted less than 2 minutes, and nobody else moved, so I, followed him out. I, waited a few seconds, and then I followed him out, and I locked the door behind him. But that was really scary. But also a good story to tell. I don't think he meant any harm. I mean, I don't know, but I don't think so. But it was really scary. Okay, so I summarized all this, basically. Okay. So then, later on in the day at 11:06, I wrote again. Today was one of my favorite days so far, and a day I'll remember for a long time. I missed Mass this morning. A couple people went to the Mass in the church, but I wasn't ready in time. But around 10, a man, we're gonna call him Bob. Bob came over, and me and 2 other people went shopping with him at the store. He spent almost $300 on us, but he didn't seem to be too concerned. We felt really bad. After shopping, he bought us groceries because we were gonna go on a boat ride to his fish camp, so he bought us food. After shopping, we had some time to kill, so naturally we played cards. A lady also stopped by the church to bring us cookies and cinnamon buns to thank us for working in the cemetery. Around 12:30, Bob came to pick us up, and we all headed to the boat dock to head to his fish camp. The ride was a million times better than 2 days ago. It was so warm, and we were covered this time. The camp was so nice, and it was so obvious how much time they put into building it. We played some basketball, snacked, and started a fire. For an early dinner, we learned how to make hobo pies, which was basically ground beef, carrots, potatoes, all wrapped in aluminum foil and put on the grill. So simple and so good. For dessert, we roasted s'mores, which were so good. We also learned to make berry cobbler, which was amazing. After eating so much, Bob let whoever wanted to learn how to shoot his shotgun. I wasn't going to do it, but I knew that I would regret it if I didn't, so I toughened up and I did it. It was my first and only time ever shooting a gun. The loud sound didn't bother me at all. The kickback hurt a little bit, but I don't even feel it now. I have a little bruise, though. I'm so happy I didn't and can't wait to tell people at home. We had to wait for the rain to stop eventually, but on the boat ride back, I was completely taken aback by the beauty of my surroundings and the amazing world God created. This is a day I definitely don't ever want to forget. The boat ride was absolutely stunning, and I'm sure you've seen the pictures already, but I was just speechless. It was just beautiful. I should also probably say that the gun thing, he wasn't advocating gun use. He actually gave us a gun safety 101 kind of thing, and was explaining that they use them as tools, not as fun. They don't kill animals for fun. They don't worship guns. It's just that's literally how they feed their families. Just putting that out there. Okay, day 8, 9:25 a.m. Update: my body is very much sore. Okay, 2:20 p.m. Today we met probably one of my favorite people we've met so far. She grew up with our host, and she offered to take us on a little walk today, a little nature walk, because it was really nice out. We went to her house, saw her dogs, her chickens, her smokehouse, and her husband. She then took us on a little walk to what used to be a fox farm, and it had a little cliff that looked over the river. It was one of the most beautiful views I have ever seen. Here, the sky seems so much more blue, and the terrain looks so green. Hopefully we get to go back tomorrow to take some cool pictures. That was the plan. One of the coolest things I think she told us was if you listen closely, you can hear the echo of the wind going through the bird's wings. Just a little flapping sound. It's amazing. Another one of God's beautiful creations. She then took us to another one of her favorite spots that looked over the river, and you can see the rest of the village on the other side. Talking with her, you can really see how much she loves where she lives, as she called it her little slice of heaven on more than one occasion. She said the reason people fall in love with this village is because you can do anything here, and you can be happy as long as you know how to live off the land. She said even at our ages now, with with our current level of expertise, we could find great jobs that we'd love. She made me appreciate nature a little bit more, and I definitely think of her as someone I can look up to. She was like, we called her queen. Like, she was goals. Okay, later on at 12:05 a.m., so it was really late. Since it's Memorial Day, the VFW held a Memorial Day barbecue/cookout, and we were kindly invited to go. We got there and stood in line, and it was the first time we saw so many teens and just so many people out in the village, because normally it's quiet. We got a hot dog and some chips, and a man came over to thank us for the work we did in the cemetery, which was really nice. We drove by earlier, the cemetery, and it actually did look a lot better, so that was cool. Afterwards, we decided to drive around the town and go look at their schools. First, we went to a college there, and we got to see the inside, and it was a pretty modern building. We were really surprised. Then we went to the high school, which was so nice, and we were surprised to find that both buildings were unlocked, and no one really seemed to care that we walked in and just wanted to see the buildings. The high school had posters everywhere about sexual harassment, drug and alcohol use, and the stages of grief, which goes to show how normalized things like that are here. That was really, I don't want to say weird, but just different from here, from home. On the way back, we stopped at a church that my chaperone wanted to see because he's a theology professor, so he's really into that. But the church was closed, but we did take some cute pictures nearby. It was like a little tundra meadow thing with this dog that kept following us around that day, and I took a picture with him or her. For dinner, one of my teammates and I made pasta and chili, which wasn't the best, but it was doable. It was all we had, really. Then we all had a really nice reflection together and just hung out together until now. Bittersweet that there's only 2 days left. So we were getting to the part of the trip where we really started to like fall into a routine of living there, and like that was our everyday life that became our routine. So we started getting a little attached to it. Day 9:50 p.m. Today we really didn't have much planned other than planting a few flowers around the church, which I know annoyed a lot of people, including me. But I think we made the most of it, and it actually turned out to be a pretty nice day. We were going to go out and explore a bit this morning, but the Chevy Blazer, the death trap, the battery was dead. So while we waited for a jump, we decided to just plant the flowers around the church first. That actually wasn't a bad idea since it was nice out, and with 11 people planning, it was done pretty quick. After that, we took a trip to Bob's barbershop because he's the barbershop in the town, which was pretty cute. But we got bored quickly, so we tried to go to another gift shop to buy our chaperone this t-shirt, but it was closed. So we drove around to find postcards and then went home for lunch. After yet another bologna and cheese sandwich, we decided to walk along the seawall to the fox farm that we went to the day before, which we thought was going to be a horrible walk because we thought it was really far, but it only took about an hour. We took some pictures, got some bug bites, and then made the walk back. At 7, our host made an appointment for us at a dog yard, which was a man's backyard, where he keeps about 15 Alaskan Huskies that he raises, trains, and raises. He also owns a bed and breakfast that's on his property, so he's a really busy man. Spending time with the dogs was a million times better than I thought it'd be. They were so cute and so excited. There was Lucy, who was the lead dog, Sierra, who had these beautiful blue, like piercing eyes, like ice blue, and a bunch of others. My favorites were the 9-week-old puppies that we got to hold, and we held them like baby style, and it was so cute. Oh, I left the dog yard probably covered in poop, but it was worth it. Now we're going to watch American Beauty. My first time seeing that movie is messed up. And get some rest for our sourdough breakfast tomorrow. Our host was making a big sourdough breakfast for us because it was our last full day there. So, okay, this is my last entry. And my camera's battery is running low, so I'm gonna do this kind of quick. Day 11, 7:53 a.m. So I didn't write on the last full day there because we went to bed really late, so I wrote my last entry on the plane ride home. So that's why I went from day 9 to day 11. 7:53 a.m. Driving to the airport this morning, I had mixed emotions. I'm so excited to go home, but I'm strangely gonna miss this town, the things I've learned here, and the people I've met, and the friendships that I've made stronger. Yesterday, I was too tired to journal, so here's what we did. Our first stop at 10 a.m. was a youth facility, which was like a jail for teenagers. A jail and a rehab center. We met with the leader and a few other staff members who spoke to us. Surprisingly, almost all of the teens there were natives, which raises some concerns for us. I really liked their mission, though, of rewarding the teens for little things instead of focusing on the bad, and their focus on bringing families into the rehab process, because often that's where the problem starts, from the parents and the families. And we got a tour, and it was really a very nice building, and really nice people. After lunch, we visited the public defender's office, which was probably the most pointless stop of the trip, in my opinion. He touched on a few important points, but like the high rates of natives that are prosecuted, but other than that, none of us enjoyed him. He tried to turn our meeting into Law 101 by asking all these questions we didn't know the answers to. He was very prideful, a little rude, and the only person we met here that doesn't live off the land. I just thought that was interesting, but he was basically telling us that you either end up in law school or you work at Starbucks. That's literally the words that came out of his mouth. We were like, it's not how it works, but okay. I almost forgot. I wrote that. Yesterday we had a sourdough breakfast that Susan, that was her host name, and her sister cooked, and the 2 priests were there too. We had blueberry waffles and pancakes, and the blueberries were picked from the tundra. Bacon and reindeer sausage, which was delicious. My favorite part of yesterday was our trip on the river. I think we were out for about 4 hours. They brought us out and we were able to stop at an abandoned village that had an orphanage and a church, which was a little creepy but also fascinating. We were able to take a lot of cool pictures too. I'll post some of them here. Then we stopped at some mountain peak / meadow with one of the most breathtaking views I have ever seen. I have never felt more lucky and blessed to be somewhere my camera couldn't even capture how beautiful it was. And it was so quiet and so peaceful. You could look over the whole river. There were mountains in the distance. It was... The ride back took almost an hour and a half, which we later found out was because the other boat driver wanted to find a moose for my friend on my team. He was just mentioned casually that he really wanted to see a moose before we went home. And so they drove around for an extra hour to try to find him one, but we couldn't find one. Cute, but also very time consuming. So we got back around 11 and had to scramble food together. After a quick reflection, we all finished packing and then stayed up until about 2 a.m. just talking and laughing and enjoying our last night. I'm really gonna miss being here with these people every second of the day, but I'm also excited for some alone time again. I feel incredibly blessed to have had the opportunity to go to this town and experience the way of life here. I don't know if I'll ever experience something like it again. I've learned so much about myself, others, and nature. The last 2 days, I found it interesting that when I was out on the water, or looking at a pretty view, or just in nature, songs that I sing at church, or like Christian songs that I sing every once in a while, would randomly pop up in my head, and I'd sing them under my breath, and I've never felt more at peace. I know I went on this trip for a reason. I'm just trying to pinpoint what that reason is exactly. Either way, this is an experience I never want to forget, and I can't wait to be home and tell everybody about it. And that was my trip to Alaska. Easily one of the best experiences that I've had so far. And I do miss it. But I'm going to try to incorporate the things that I learned there into my everyday life as best that I can. Obviously, two completely different worlds, but you can still take lessons that you learn from one place and bring it to another place for sure. So, thank you for being interested in my experience. I think it's really cool that you guys want to hear about it. So, thank you for taking the time to hang out with me and listen to my story.